That is what you deserve. Those words still burn in my soul like acid on skin. A phrase that haunts my dreams and wakes me in the dead of night, sweating and trembling. My name is Amelia Johnson. I'm 58 years old, a woman who's seen the highs of Harlem's vibrant streets and the lows of a broken heart. For months, I buried this story deep inside me, letting it fester like an untreated wound. But silence has its limits, and mine shattered like glass under pressure. That fateful night at my son Marcus's wedding reception, his new mother-in-law Victoria hurled a steaming cup of espresso straight into my face. The scalding liquid seared my cheeks, the bitter aroma mixing with the sting of betrayal as it dripped down my elegant emerald gown. But the real agony wasn't the burn. It was the smirk on her face, cold and triumphant, as if she'd been rehearsing this moment in her twisted mind for years. "That is what you deserve," she hissed again, her voice laced with venom, tilting her head back in defiance. The grand ballroom in Midtown Manhattan went deathly quiet. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, but no one met my gaze. Guests averted their eyes, fiddling with silverware or staring into their champagne flutes. No one intervened. No one uttered a word, except my son Marcus, my only child, the boy I'd raised single-handedly, after his father walked out on us in the dead of winter when he was just 6. The man I'd poured my life into, sacrificing sleep, savings, and sanity. He lounged at the head table, legs crossed casually, and in a voice as steady as stone, he said, "She's right, Mom." The world tilted. My knees buckled, but I didn't fall. I didn't wail or demand answers. Instead, I unfolded the crisp white napkin from my lap, dabbed at my blistering skin with whatever grace I could muster, and rose from my seat like a queen, dethroned but unbroken. The room watched in stunned silence as I strode toward the ornate double doors, my heels clicking against the marble floor, my spine rigid even as my insides crumbled. But before I vanished into the night, I did the unexpected. I slipped my phone from my beaded clutch, dialed a number I'd memorized weeks earlier, and whispered 3 words into the receiver, "It's time now." Then I disconnected, eased the doors shut behind me with a soft click, and stepped into the cool New York air. No one chased after me. No apologies echoed down the hall. I slid into my old reliable Honda, the one I'd driven for a decade through traffic-clogged avenues. And as I navigated the glittering lights of Times Square toward my cozy brownstone in Harlem, one question looped endlessly in my mind. How did we end up here? There was a time when Marcus would wrap his arms around me and whisper, "You're my rock, Mom." A time when a mother's love seemed unbreakable. A time when trust was my anchor. But that night, with my face throbbing and my heart in shards, I learned a brutal truth. The deepest cuts come from those we cherish most. And sometimes silence isn't weakness, it's a strategy. What unfolded after that call is etched in their memories forever. But to grasp why I chose that path, I must rewind. How a devoted mother who gave her all ended up shamed before a crowd of strangers. How I uncovered my son's hidden life, a secret that unraveled everything. We often place blind faith in the wrong hearts. Have you ever been shattered by someone you adored? Share your tale in the comments. I'd love to hear it. 3 years back, my world was steady, if not glamorous. I dwelled in a charming Harlem brownstone, its stoop adorned with potted hydrangeas and ivy that I tended religiously each dawn. My routine was my rhythm: black coffee at 6 a.m., fresh bagels from the corner deli run by old Mr. Goldstein, then unlocking my modest bookstore on 125th Street. I wasn't wealthy, but independence was my fortune. After Marcus's father vanished, leaving us with nothing but echoes and unpaid bills, I grasped a vital lesson many learned too late. A woman can forge her path with grit and grace, no permissions needed. I curated shelves of classics, mysteries, and self-help tomes for locals who craved escape or inspiration. My fingers knew every spine, every dog-eared page, every story's secret whisper. Marcus witnessed it all growing up. He saw me rise before sunrise to stock inventory, balancing books until my eyes blurred. He saw me weep from fatigue over ledgers that once belonged to my grandmother, then wipe my face and press on. "Mom, when I'm big, I'll hustle so you can chill." He'd vow with those earnest brown eyes as I packed his lunch for school. And I trusted him because Marcus was golden, diligent, warm, a straight-A student who volunteered at community centers on weekends. When he hit 18 and headed to NYU for finance, pride swelled in me like a balloon. Every late-night shift, every skipped vacation, every penny pinched, it all paid off. I doubled down, hosting book clubs for upscale clients who'd never stepped foot in Harlem otherwise, saving fiercely so he graduated debt-free. And he did, magna cum laude, landing a gig at a Wall Street firm. He strutted in suits I ironed myself, dropping off bouquets every Friday evening when he swung by for soul food dinners. "Thanks, Mom," he'd say, pecking my cheek. "I'm who I am because of you." Fulfillment washed over me until Isabella entered the picture. The first mention of her lit Marcus up like Times Square at midnight. His voice softened, eyes sparkled. "She's one of a kind, Mom." Isabella hailed from old money in the Upper East Side, daughter of a real estate mogul. Her father owned skyscrapers dotting the skyline. Her mother, Victoria, was a socialite who'd never lifted a finger but commanded rooms like a CEO. When Marcus wanted to introduce us, I donned my finest, a sapphire blouse I'd thrifted and altered myself, silver hoops from my mom. I aimed to impress without pretense. The rendezvous was at a swanky spot in Chelsea, all minimalist decor and overpriced salads, too posh for my blood, but Marcus insisted, "I want you two to bond, Mom. Isabella means the world." She arrived in a tailored blazer and pearls, her smile polished but distant. We chatted surface level. Weather, her art curation job, wedding whispers though they'd dated mere months. I nodded politely, probing gently. But a gut twist hit when she said, "Mother's dying to meet you." "Ms. Amelia, I've shared so much." The Ms. Amelia rang formal, like I was staff, not family. Marcus clasped my hand under the table, signaling reassurance. I wanted to believe back then. I clung to the notion that maternal bonds trumped all, unaware that some view outsiders as threats from hello. Unaware Victoria had already deemed me unworthy. As we parted, Marcus beamed in the cab. "She loved you, Mom." I forced a grin, but a whisper nagged, "This girl's facade, and Victoria's too." Months later, dinner at their penthouse sealed the crack's beginning. Victoria's abode screamed opulence. Marble floors, abstract art, skyline views from floor-to-ceiling windows. Things screamed excess. Victoria greeted us at the elevator, air-kissing without contact. "Amelia, darling, welcome." But her eyes scanned me like a barcode. Isabella descended in a silk dress costing my monthly rent, her welcome cool. Her father, Harold, grunted a handshake before retreating to his study with a cigar. Marcus fit right in, laughing at jokes I missed, as if this glass tower was home, not our cozy brownstone. It stung deeper than admitted. A uniformed maid served courses silently. Victoria barked orders without glances. I smiled at the girl. She flashed gratitude before vanishing. Dinner tensed immediately. Victoria boasted of Hampton's weekends. Gala invites, the new yacht Harold splurged on. "One must uphold standards, Amelia," she quipped with a tinkling laugh. I nodded, tongue-tied. Isabella chimed in, gripping Marcus's arm. "Daddy can hook you up with a better ride, babe." "That sedan screams starter car." Marcus chuckled awkwardly. "It's fine, love. Gets me places. But kids need space," she pressed sweetly. "Safety first." My stomach nodded. Marcus earned that car through bonuses I'd celebrated. Now it was embarrassing. "Marcus knows his needs," I interjected calmly. Victoria's gaze sharpened. "Of course. He's sharp. That's why he'll choose wisely for his future, his new family." New family landed like a slap, erasing me. Marcus stayed mute, fork scraping plate. Revelation hit. My son was complicit in my erasure. Victoria pivoted. Wedding talk. Cathedral ceremony, plaza reception. Tasteful, not flashy. No input sought from me. I felt sidelined, invisible. "Thoughts, Amelia?" she asked faux sweetly. "Lovely, as long as they're happy." "Precisely," she toasted. "Starting fresh, unburdened." Unburdened lingered toxically. Isabella excused herself. Harold snored. Victoria leaned in, voice low. "Amelia, you're sensible, so straight talk." "Marcus is sweet, but from simpler roots." "Fine, but now he's joining us." Expectations apply. Expectations? Heat rose. Stability for Isabella. Focus on ahead, not behind. Her eyes drilled. Behind? Don't misread. Admirable what you've done. But let him soar, sans tethers, emotional drags. Knife twist. "I've never dragged him," I trembled. "Of course," she smiled. "As a good mom, you'll step back." Isabella returned, cutting short. Dessert arrived, tiramisu I barely tasted. Victoria gifted a crystal vase. Think of us. Elegant, cold, a message. "You don't fit." In the cab home, Marcus silent. At my stoop, he murmured, "Like Victoria, Mom?" Strong woman, I chose words. Yeah, incredible. She and Isabella are tight. Nice to see. And us? I nearly screamed. But silence. I ascended alone. Brewed coffee in my chipped mug, the one knowing my life's flavor. The vase sat untouched. Question bloomed. How far to push me out? Soon I'd know. While sharing, where are you tuning from? Drop your city in comments. Months dragged like chains. Every interaction cut deeper, but I endured. Convincing myself it was normal. Marriage shifts letting go. But they weren't letting, they were shoving. Marcus's visits dwindled. Weekly dinners became bi-weekly, then rare. Excuses piled. Sorry, Mom. Isabella's folks planned dinner. Club brunch with Victoria. Wedding prep crunch. Always them. I masked hurt. Understand, busy boy. But inside, pieces died. One day Marcus phoned. Isabella wants you for dress shopping. Your eye for style. Hope flickered. Maybe misjudged her. Boutique in Soho. Gowns like art, prices astronomical. I arrived early. Isabella late with Victoria and giggling entourage. Ms. Amelia thrilled you're here. Isabella air-kissed. I perched on plush, watching parades. Friends fond, Victoria dictated. No queries my way, until a mermaid gown. Opinion, Miss Amelia? Honest. Stunning, but sleeves might enhance your frame. Elegant touch. Frost descended. Friends tittered. Victoria iced. Fashions evolved, dear. This is it. Isabella beamed. You're right, Mother. Mother, to Victoria. Me? Ms. Amelia. Ignored thereafter. Outside, Marcus waited. Isabella gushed photos. Gorgeous, babe. I lingered, shadowed. How'd it go, Mom? Beautiful. Victoria claimed, lunch, Marcus? Details to hash. Isabella. Ms. Amelia too? Victoria. Tired, surely. Boring stuff. Marcus silent, no defense. They strolled off. I busted home, tears streaking publicly. First time. Home, coffee and mug, staring at gathering dust on vase. Whisper, worsens, but clung to son's love prevailing. Swallowed pride, stayed fine. Avoided burden label Victoria planted. Weeks later, dinner invite, just us. Thrilled, I primped in self-sewn dress. Arrived early, but Marcus not alone. Isabella tagged. Hope okay. Dinner, wedding, Maldives honeymoon, penthouse gift from Harold. Prime spot, Ms. Amelia, views killer. Marcus glowed. Check time. Mom, spot $3,000. Wedding drained me. Didn't have rent loomed, but dipped savings. Sure, son. Repay soon. Never did. Never asked. Realization. No longer mom. ATM, fallback. Home, window gazing, questioning, how invisible. Unaware worse loomed. Victoria's scheme Marcus entangled. Wedding neared like doom. I feigned normalcy. Calls sparse, invites none. Bachelor bash? Heard via grapevine. Hampton's extravaganza. Rehearsal? Elite spot. Last minute, no bother. Bother? My existence nuisance? Tuesday slow, doorbell. Courier envelope, no sender. Opened, photos. Marcus not with Isabella, with Victoria. Restaurants, lots, hotels. Intimate touches, smiles. Last, balcony embrace, lover's pose. Vomited, world spun. Son with fiance's mom. 20 years older, my humiliator. Picked up, rage replaced shock. Envelope in purse. Dialed PI client recommended. Need proof. Marcus Johnson, Victoria Langford. Relation. Son, fiance's mother. Pause. Plan? Prepare. Hung coffee waited. No longer victim, watcher, waiter, caller when time. Ever harbored crushing secret? Discovered life-altering? Comments below. PI, Elena Torres, 40s, sharp, met Queen's Diner. Folder thick. Breathe, Amelia. No, no. Photos mirrored. Dinners, hotels, midtown condo. Victoria leased secretly. Year plus. Before engagement. Bank transfers, thousands to Marcus. Payments, kept man. More, Harold bankrupt, empire crumbling. Penthouse mortgaged. Facade. Isabella's inheritance from paternal grandma. Millions in trust, marriage unlocks. Post-marriage accident? Spouse inherits. Horror, harm Isabella? Audio, bug in condo. Marcus. If Isabella learns? Victoria. Won't fool. Mary, wait, accidents happen. Marcus. Can't? Victoria. Love you. Together. Rich, free. Silence. Marcus. Okay. Frozen. Son plotting marriage for money, potential murder. Do? Police? Jail son. Confront? Useless. Wanted him feel, Victoria lose without villainy. Let truth demolish. Folder home, plan brood. Attend wedding, wait reveal, call. Revenge? No, truth's work. Wedding night storm. Dressed simple black sheath. Cathedral packed, me row 5, not front. Left side sparse. Me, cousin, friend. Marcus handsome, suit bespoke. Victoria front, champagne gown. Possessive glance, Marcus's complicit smile. Isabella radiant, innocent. Vows hypocritical, Marcus pledged truth, trust. Bit lip, reception plaza, lavish, roses, orchestra. Table rear strangers, invisible, dances, newlyweds, parents. My turn with Marcus. Beautiful, Mom. Thanks. Silence. Happy? Very. Truly? Victoria too? Tense. Don't know. Do know all. Photos, records, plans for Isabella. Stopped. What? Everything. Music halted. Stares. Isabella. What? Victoria interposed. Leave, Amelia. Seen? Seen. Laughed. Guests murmured. Victoria grabbed espresso, hurled. Burn, drip, pain. Deserve. Silence. Marcus. Right, Mom. Napkin wipe. Dignified exit. Dialed. It's time now. Drove, smiled. Call not cops to Isabella's grandpa, Theodore Langford. Empire builder, trust setter. Met earlier, bonded over hard work. Showed proof weeks prior. Save granddaughter. Plan, I signal. He storms with lawyers, cops, exposes. Home, undressed, showered, pajamas, coffee, waited. Call, Theodore. Done. Details. Arrived plaza. Showed Isabella proof. She collapsed. Hospital. Marcus denied, silenced. Victoria ranted fakes. Scandal viral. Guests fled. Reginald oblivious. Now, Isabella safe, marriage annulled, trust frozen. Complaint versus Victoria, fraud, conspiracy. Jail? Likely. Marcus? Left alone, scorned. Peace? Yes. Days odd, quiet, no Marcus. Theodore updated. Isabella therapy. Scandal exploded. Videos viral. Theories swirled. Marcus painted victim or villain. Truth middle. Weak, bad choices. Week 2. DA charged Victoria. 10-15 years possible. Harold lost all. Foreclosed. Alone. Complicity's price. Week 3. Marcus at door. Disheveled. Broken. Mom, let in. Sorry. 4. All to you, Isabella. Plan harm? Not me. Victoria manipulated. Blame her? Believe deserved more, you made guilty. Mirror of origins. Saddest, never made guilty. You did, knowing abandoned. Silent. Stay? No. Rebuild alone like me. Please. No, learn. Left crying? Love you. Love without respect, nothing. Door shut, no tears. Right thing. Coffee, window, peace. Life collects debts with time, truth, justice. 2 years on, scars linger but fade. Amelia Johnson, 60 now, wiser, weathered. Learned silence's power, dignity's price, forgiveness's edge. Life not transformed outwardly. Brownstone, bookstore, coffee ritual. But inner shift profound, no invisibility. Proud survivor. Theodore friend now, bi-weekly visits with bagels, coffee. Talk life, kids' paths, ages lessons. Isabella asked you. How's she? Better law school, advocacy for betrayed women. Glad. Wants thank you. Just did right. Isabella visited Spring Day. Knocked shy. Stronger now. Coffee chat. Thanks saving. Had to. Cried I comforted like daughter. Overcome? Hard, but therapy helped. Not blame self. Now trust self first. Helped stock books, shared dreams, center for survivors. Hugged, mother mine never was. Cried that night, lost son, gained daughter of heart. Victoria News, sentenced 12 years, alone, deteriorated. Theodore relieved, sad, remembers girl pre-corruption. Understood, remembered Marcus pre-poison. Marcus's letter recent, honest. Factory job, therapy, saving, repay. No forgive, expect. Just no trying better. Think you daily. Pass building, look window. Thank letting fall. Out love. Love always. Read repeatedly, cried. Drawer with mementos. Not replied yet. Forgiveness. Remember, feel, move, son's weight. Build new. Dream, shop, knock. Boy Marcus. Lost way, found. Hug, home. Woke teary, sign heal. Morning coffee, streets alive. All stories, mistakes, redemptions. Mine won, proud. Survived, unbroken. Sew dresses? No, curate books for dreamers. Pray Isabella finds true love. Marcus too. Mother's love boundless, but firm. Story helps one? Worth it. You, stronger think. Pain passes. Survive, win, not destroy, unbroken. Close with mug. Simple remains. Thanks listening. City, comments. Liked? Super thanks support. More stories screen. Subscribe. 2 years have turned into 4 now. Time moves differently when your heart has been broken and slowly, carefully pieced back together. My name is still Amelia Johnson. I'm 62 years old, and some mornings I wake up and forget, for just a few seconds, that my world once exploded in a ballroom full of strangers. Then the memory rushes back, the scalding coffee, Victoria's smile, Marcus's cold words, and I breathe through it like I've learned to do. The pain doesn't knock me down anymore. It just reminds me I'm still here. These days, my Harlem brownstone feels fuller than it has in years, even though it's usually just me. The bookstore downstairs, Amelia's Pages, thrives in its quiet way. I expanded the children's corner last year, added a cozy reading nook with mismatched armchairs and fairy lights. On Saturdays, I host story time for the neighborhood kids. Their laughter bounces off the shelves, and for those hours, everything feels right with the world. Theodore still visits every other Sunday like clockwork. He's 88 now, slower on the stairs, but his mind is sharp as ever. He brings the same blueberry muffins from the bakery on Lenox Avenue and insists on making the coffee himself in my old percolator. We sit in the back room among stacks of new arrivals, and we talk, not just about the past, but about the present, about how Isabella graduated law school top of her class, about how she opened the Isabella Estrada Center for Women's Resilience in Brooklyn, last spring, a place where survivors of betrayal, abuse, and financial manipulation can get free legal help, therapy, and a hot meal. Theodore beams when he talks about her. That girl's got steel in her spine now, he says. Just like someone else I know. Isabella and I have our own rhythm now. She comes by the store on Wednesdays after work. Sometimes she brings takeout from the Jamaican spot on 116th, and we eat it on the stoop when the weather's nice. She calls me Miss Amelia still, out of respect, but there's warmth in it now. No distance. One evening last summer, she sat on my front steps with her head on my shoulder and said quietly, "I used to think mothers were supposed to protect you from the worst things. You showed me they can also be the worst things, and that someone else can step in and be the protection you needed." I didn't have words, so I just held her hand until the sun went down. We don't talk about Victoria much anymore. There's no need. She's serving year 6 of her 12-year sentence upstate. Theodore says she's aged 20 years and 6. No visitors except a lawyer every few months. Harold filed for divorce 2 years ago and moved to Florida with a woman half his age. The penthouse was sold at auction to cover debts. The Langford name, once whispered with awe in certain circles, is now a cautionary tale in others. And Marcus, my Marcus, for the first 2 years after that night, I heard almost nothing. A letter here and there, short, careful, full of apologies that felt like they were written for a school assignment. He was working construction in Jersey, then as a warehouse loader in the Bronx, living in rooming houses, going to therapy once a week at a sliding scale clinic, saving money to pay me back, the $3,000 he'd borrowed and never returned. I read every letter. I never answered. Then, about 18 months ago, something shifted. The letters grew longer, more honest, less defensive. He stopped blaming Victoria entirely, started owning his choices. He wrote about the shame that woke him at 3 a.m., about how he'd walk past my block sometimes, late at night, and stand under the street lamp looking up at my windows, too afraid to knock, about how he'd started volunteering at a youth center in the South Bronx, mentoring teenage boys who reminded him of himself at their age, smart, angry, hungry for more, but not sure how to get it without hurting someone. One letter included a cashier's check for $3,000, no note. Just the money and his signature. I stared at it for a long time before depositing it, not because I needed it, but because I knew what it cost him to earn it back. I still didn't write back. Last fall, Theodore had a health scare, a mild stroke. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to land him in the hospital for a week. Isabella called me from his bedside, voice shaking. "He's asking for you, Ms. Amelia." I closed the store early and took the train up to Mount Sinai. When I walked into his room, he looked small in the hospital bed, but his eyes lit up. "There's my girl," he rasped. We talked for hours, about life, about regrets, about second chances. Before I left, he took my hand and said, "That boy of yours, He's trying. Really trying. I've seen it. Don't wait too long, Amelia. Some bridges burn slow, but they do burn. I thought about that train ride home. A lot. 3 months ago, on a rainy Tuesday in October, the bell above my shop door jingled. I was in the back unpacking a box of new releases. When I came out front, there he was. Marcus. He looked different. Older, yes, but in a settled way. His hair was cut short, beard trimmed. He wore a clean button-down and jeans that actually fit. His hands were calloused, I could see it. When he nervously gripped the strap of the backpack slung over his shoulder, he didn't smile. Just looked at me with those same brown eyes I'd known since he was born. "Hi, Mom." I froze behind the counter. My heart pounded so hard I thought he could hear it. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me," he said quietly. "I can leave if—" "No," I said too quickly. "Stay." We stood there in silence for what felt like forever. Customers browsed quietly around us, sensing the weight in the air. Finally, I nodded toward the back room. "Coffee?" He nodded. I made it strong, the way we both like it, in my old percolator. We sat across from each other at the small table where I usually do inventory. Neither of us touched our mugs at first. "I don't have excuses anymore," he started, voice low. "I had them for a long time. Victoria did this, Victoria did that. The money, the attention, feeling important for the first time. But the truth is, I chose it. Every step. I chose to pull away from you. I chose to lie. I chose to hurt Isabella. I chose to stand there that night and let Victoria throw that coffee and say, 'You were right.'" His voice cracked on the last word. "I can't undo it, Mom. I know that. I needed you to hear it from me. That I know what I did. That I live with it every day. And that I'm trying not to earn forgiveness, because I know I might never get that, but to be someone who doesn't make those choices again." I listened. Really listened. And for the first time in years I saw him, not the boy I raised, not the man who betrayed me, but the person in between, the one trying to become something better. I didn't hug him that day. I didn't say, "I forgive you," but I did say, "Thank you for coming." For saying that. And when he left, I watched him walk down the street in the rain without an umbrella. And I didn't feel the old ache. I felt something new, something like possibility. We've seen each other 3 times since then. Short visits, coffee in the shop after closing. No big declarations, no tears, just slow, careful conversation. He told me about the boys he mentors, about how one of them, a 16-year-old named Jamal, reminds him so much of himself that it hurts. About how he's saving for an apartment now, not a room, a real place. About how he goes to therapy every Thursday and has started reading again. The books I used to read to him when he was little. I told him about Isabella, about the center, about Theodore, about how the store's doing better than ever. I didn't tell him I kept all his letters, or that I have the $3,000 check framed in my bedroom, not for the money, but for what it meant. Last month, he asked if he could help out around the store one Saturday, restock shelves, organize the back. I said yes. He showed up at 9 a.m. sharp with coffee and bagels, worked all day without complaint. The kids at Storytime loved him. He did all the voices when I read Where the Wild Things Are. One little girl tugged his sleeve afterward and said, "You should come every week, Mr. Marcus." He looked at me, eyes questioning. I nodded. So now he comes every Saturday. It's not fixed. Nothing's fixed. Some days the hurt flares up like an old injury in cold weather. Some days I look at him and see the man who said, "She's right, Mom," and have to walk away until I can breathe again. But other days I see glimpses of my boy, the one who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during Sunday church, the one who called me his rock. We're not mother and son again. Not yet. Maybe not ever in the same way. But we're something. 2 people who know each other's worst and are choosing, carefully, to see if there's room for better. Theodore says time doesn't heal all wounds. It just teaches you how to live with them. I think he's right. And me, I'm still here. Still watering my hydrangeas. Still brewing coffee in the same chipped mug. Still opening my store every morning with the same bell jingle. Still standing. Because that's what we do. We fall, we shatter. And then, when we're ready, we pick up the pieces and build something new. Have you ever had to rebuild a relationship you thought was lost forever? Or walked away from one that couldn't be saved? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. Where are you listening from today? Drop your city below. Spring has come early this year in Harlem. The trees on my block are bursting with pink and white blossoms. And the air smells like possibility. I turned 63 last month. Isabella and Theodore threw me a surprise party in the store after hours. Balloons. Cake from Make My Cake, a playlist of all my old favorites. Marcus was there too. He brought the cake. We didn't make a big deal of it, but he stayed to help clean up afterward. We washed dishes side by side in the tiny back sink. Just like when he was a kid helping me close up. There's a rhythm forming now, careful but real. Marcus has his own apartment now, a small one-bedroom in Washington Heights. Nothing fancy, but it's his. He's been promoted to site supervisor on a construction crew building affordable housing in the Bronx. He says the irony isn't lost on him. After chasing penthouses and skyline views, he's helping build homes for families who remind him of us. He still volunteers at the youth center. Jamal, the 16-year-old, just got accepted to a magnet school for engineering. Marcus helped him with the application essays. When he told me, his voice had that same pride I used to hear when he aced a test in high school. Isabella and I have grown closer too. She asked me to speak at the Women's Center. Last month, a panel on resilience. After Betrayal, I was terrified. Public speaking was never my thing, but I did it. Told my story, not all the ugly details, but enough. About choosing dignity over drama. About letting someone fall so they could learn to stand. About loving hard even when it hurts. Afterward, a woman in her 40s came up to me with tears in her eyes. Said her daughter had chosen a man just like Marcus over her, and she'd been carrying the pain for years. "You gave me hope," she said, "that maybe one day she'll find her way back. Or maybe I'll find peace either way." I hugged her and told her both were possible. Theodore's health has stabilized. Thank God he sold his big house in Westchester and moved into a senior community in Riverdale with views of the Hudson. He says it's the first time in decades he's lived somewhere he actually chose, not somewhere meant to impress. Isabella and I visit every Sunday. We play cards, he cheats shamelessly, and eat too much ice cream. Last week, he pulled me aside after Isabella stepped out to take a call. "I'm updating my will," he said without preamble. Leaving the bulk to Isabella and the center, of course. "But there's a trust for you too, Amelia. Not charity, payment for saving my granddaughter's life. For being the family my daughter never was." I started to protest, but he held up a hand. "You'll accept it. And you'll use it to expand that children's nook into a full community reading room. Name it whatever you want. But I have a suggestion. Theodore's Corner." He grinned like a kid. "Let an old man have his vanity." I laughed through tears and said yes. Marcus and Isabella have seen each other a few times now. Not often. Not forced. The first time was at Theodore's birthday dinner last fall. I watched them across the table, two people who'd been deeply wounded by the same lies, talk quietly about law school and construction codes. No drama, no accusations. Just two survivors finding neutral ground. Afterward, Isabella told me, "He's different. Really different. I don't forgive him. Not yet, maybe not ever. But I don't hate him anymore. And that feels like freedom." I understood. Some nights when the store is closed and the street outside is quiet, I sit upstairs with my coffee and think about that night at the plaza, about the coffee burning my skin, about walking out with my head high, about the call I made that changed everything. I don't regret it, not for a second. Because here's what I've learned in these 4 years since the storm. Love isn't blind. It just sometimes chooses to see what it wants. Betrayal doesn't define you. How you respond does. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give someone else. It's a gift you give yourself. And family, real family, isn't always the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one you choose, the one that chooses you back. Marcus and I are still walking this careful path. Some days we take steps forward. Some days we stand still, but we're walking. Last Saturday, after story time, one of the little girls asked Marcus to read Goodnight Moon again. He did, all the voices, all the tenderness. When he finished, she hugged him and said, "You're a good daddy reader." He looked at me over her head, eyes shining. And I saw it, the boy I raised, still in there, trying. Maybe that's enough for now. Maybe that's the beginning. I'm Amelia Johnson. I'm 63 years old. I own a bookstore in Harlem. I have hydrangeas on my stoop and a mug that knows my life's taste. I have a grandson I've never met in Isabella's stories, and a son who's finding his way home, one careful step at a time, and I am finally at peace. It's January now, 2026. Harlem is wrapped in a quiet blanket of snow, the kind that muffles the city and makes everything feel softer, slower. I turned 64 last month. Quiet celebration, just Isabella, Theodore, Marcus, and a few regulars from the store. We closed early, ate collard greens and black-eyed peas for luck, and laughed more than I have in years. Marcus brought a carrot cake from Lloyd's on 125th. He remembered it was my favorite when I was pregnant with him. Small things like that still catch me off guard. I finally wrote the letter. I'd been carrying the weight of it for months. Drafts in my head during slow afternoons at the register. Sentences forming while I shelved books or watered the hydrangeas on warmer days. I knew I had to answer Marcus's last letter. The one where he said he didn't expect forgiveness. Just hoped I wouldn't cross the street to avoid him someday. I kept that letter in the same drawer with his baby picture and the framed $3,000 check. One cold December night, after the store was locked and the streetlights glowed orange through the frost on my windows, I sat down at my little kitchen table with my chipped mug of coffee and a fresh sheet of stationery, the kind with tiny pressed flowers along the border that I sell in the shop. My hand shook a little as I started. Dear Marcus, I've read every one of your letters, some of them more times than I can count. I've carried your words around with me like stones in my pocket, heavy, but mine to hold. There were years when I didn't know if I'd ever be able to write this. Years when the memory of that night at the plaza felt like a fresh burn every time I thought of you. When She's Right, Mom played on repeat in my head louder than any song. But time does something strange. It doesn't erase the hurt. It just gives you room around it. Space to breathe. Space to see. I see you now. Not just the man who stood silent while I was humiliated. Not just the boy I raised alone. But the man who's been showing up every Saturday for the past year and a half. Reading to children, restocking shelves without being asked, listening when I talk about my day. The man who mentored Jamal through his college essays and cried in my back room. When he got the acceptance letter, the man who paid back money he didn't owe anymore. Not because I asked, but because it mattered to him to make it right. I see the work you're doing. The hard, quiet work of becoming someone you can look in the mirror and respect. And I'm proud of that man. Truly proud. That doesn't mean everything is healed. Some cracks never close all the way, but they can still hold light. I forgive you, Marcus. Not because you've earned it, though you've worked hard. Not because I've forgotten, because I never will. But because carrying the unforgiveness was starting to feel heavier than the hurt itself. And I deserve to be free of it. We both do. This doesn't mean we go back to how things were. We can't. Too much has changed. But it does mean we go forward, slowly, carefully, honestly. You asked once if you could call me Mom again. The answer is yes. When you're ready, when it feels true for you, I'll be here. I love you. I always have. Even in the darkest years, that never stopped. It just got buried under too much pain to reach. Come by Sunday if you want. Theodore's bringing his famous cornbread, and Isabella's making mac and cheese. There'll be plenty. Love, Mom. I folded it, sealed it, and walked it to the mailbox on the corner myself, even though it was snowing. I didn't want to wait until morning. He got it 2 days later. He showed up at the store on a Thursday evening, just before closing. Snow in his hair, eyes red like he'd been crying on the train. He didn't say much at first, just handed me a small wrapped box. Inside was a new mug, hand-thrown pottery, deep blue glaze with tiny flecks of gold. On the bottom, etched in careful script, the one that knows the taste of my life. I burst into tears right there between the mystery and romance sections. He hugged me, really hugged me, for the first time in almost 8 years. I felt his shoulders shake. We stood like that until the last customer quietly let themselves out and flipped the sign to closed for us. We've been careful since then. No rushing. But the word Mom has started slipping naturally into his sentences again. And every time it lands soft, like snow. Spring came fierce this year. Cherry blossoms exploding overnight. Sidewalks crowded with strollers and dog walkers and kids on scooters. The store's busier than ever. I hired part-time help, a college student named Aisha, who's studying literature at City College and has a gift for recommending books that change people's lives. Marcus moved back to Harlem. Not into my brownstone. He got his own place. 3 blocks away on 138th. A walk-up with good light and a tiny balcony where he's growing tomatoes in pots. He says it's the first time he's ever had a home that's completely his. No strings, no lies attached. He's dating someone now. Her name is Lena. She's a social worker at the youth center where he volunteers. They met when she brought in a group of foster kids for a book drive I hosted. She's kind, grounded, funny in a dry way that makes Marcus laugh out loud, the real laugh I hadn't heard in years. He brought her to meet me in April, We had dinner upstairs. Roast chicken, collards, cornbread. I was nervous, kept fussing with the table settings. But Lena walked in, hugged me like we'd known each other forever and said, "Marcus told me you make the best sweet tea in New York." He wasn't lying. We talked until midnight. She asked about my favorite books growing up. I told her about Their Eyes Were Watching God and how Janie Crawford taught me what real strength looks like. Before they left, Lena pulled me aside in the hallway. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not giving up on him. He's good now. Really good." I just nodded, throat too tight for words. Isabella got engaged last month. His name is David. He's a pediatric resident she met through the center. Quiet, steady, treats her like she hung the moon. Theodore gave him the 3rd degree over brunch and finally declared, "Boy's all right." The wedding will be small, next spring, in Theodore's garden in Riverdale. Isabella asked me to walk her down the aisle alongside her grandfather. I cried so hard I had to close the store for the afternoon. Victoria's appeal was denied last fall. She'll serve the full 12. Theodore visited her once, about a year ago. Said she looked small, angry, still blaming everyone else. He hasn't gone back. Harold remarried and moved to Sarasota. Sent Theodore a Christmas card with a photo of his new boat. Theodore threw it away without opening it. Some wounds close. Some don't. We just learn where to step. Marcus and I have a new tradition. Every first Sunday of the month, we cook breakfast together upstairs. Pancakes, bacon, eggs, whatever's in season from the farmer's market. Just the two of us. We talk about everything and nothing. Work, books, the kids at the center. His tomatoes, my hydrangeas. Last month, he asked if he could bring something up. I said, of course. He pulled an old photo album from his backpack. The one I thought I'd lost years ago. The one with pictures of him as a baby. First steps, kindergarten graduation. The two of us at Coney Island when he was 8. "I found it in storage," he said. "Thought maybe we could look through it together." We did. We laughed at his bowl cut, teared up at the picture of him in his little cap and gown at preschool, lingered on the one of us asleep on the couch together after a long day, my arm around him like a shield. When we finished, he closed the album gently. "I used to think success meant leaving all this behind," he said. "Getting far away from Harlem, from the bookstore, from you. Like if I could just become someone else, I'd finally be enough." He looked at me. "I was so wrong, Mom. This right here is what enough feels like." I didn't have words, so I just reached across the table and held his hand. "We're not perfect. We never will be. Some days old hurts flare up, a trigger phrase, a memory, and we have to step back, breathe, talk it through. Therapy's still part of his life, and mine when I need it, but we're here. We're home, and for the first time in a long time, when I look out my window at the Harlem streets filling with morning light, I don't feel like I'm waiting for something to be taken away. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with my bookstore. My mismatched mugs, one old and chipped, one new and blue, my hydrangeas blooming fierce on the stoop, my chosen family growing around me like roots, and my son, my complicated, redeemed, still growing son, 3 blocks away, tending tomatoes and finding his way back to himself. Life didn't give me the ending I planned. It gave me the one I needed. Thank you for staying with me through this whole journey. If just one person reading this finds the courage to forgive, or to ask for forgiveness, or to choose dignity when it would be easier not to, then every tear, every sleepless night, every hard choice was worth it. Where are you listening from today? Drop your city in the comments. I still read every single one. And if my story helped you even a little, consider sending a super thanks. It keeps these stories coming for folks who need them. Until the next one, beautiful souls. With love and respect always. May 2027 bloomed warm and golden in Riverdale. Theodore's garden had never looked more beautiful, wisteria dripping, purple from the pergola, roses climbing the old stone walls, the Hudson River sparkling below like it was showing off just for us. Isabella's wedding day. I stood in the guest room of Theodore's bungalow, helping her with the final touches on her dress. Simple, elegant ivory lace with delicate cap sleeves. Nothing like the strapless mermaid gown from 8 years ago. This one whispered instead of shouted. She'd chosen it herself, no entourage, no opinions forced on her. "You nervous?" I asked, pinning a small spray of baby's breath into her curls. She met my eyes in the mirror and smiled, soft, real. A little, but the good kind, like I'm stepping into something I actually chose. I nodded, throat tight. That's the best kind. David waited under the pergola in a light gray suit, hands clasped to keep them from shaking. When the string quartet started, Pachelbo's canon and Isabella appeared on Theodore's arm, me, walking right beside them, holding her other hand, the look on David's face made every tear I'd ever cried worth it. Pure wonder. Like he couldn't believe his luck. Marcus sat in the second row next to Lena. He'd asked if it was okay for him to come. I'd said, of course. This was family now, chosen family, and he was part of it. The vows were short, heartfelt. No grand promises of perfection, just honesty. To choose each other every day, to communicate even when it's hard, to grow together instead of apart. When David said, I promise to see you, really see you, every single day, Isabella's eyes filled, and I felt Theodore squeeze my hand. At the reception under a big white tent, the food was simple and perfect. Jamaican jerk chicken, southern collards, Italian pasta salad, a little something from everyone's roots. No 5-course extravagance, just love on plates. Marcus found me during the cocktail hour, holding 2 glasses of sweet tea. Mom, he said, handing me one. The words still landed warm every time. You okay? I looked around, at Isabella laughing with David's parents, at Theodore slow dancing with a silver-haired lady from his senior community who'd become his special friend, at Lena chatting with Aisha from the bookstore. Better than okay, I said. I'm full. He nodded, eyes shining. Me too. Later, when the dance floor opened up, Marcus asked me to dance. The DJ played Stand By Me, the song I used to sing to him when nightmares woke him as a kid. We swayed slowly, carefully, like we were both afraid to step on toes that had been bruised before. Halfway through, he spoke quietly. I talked to Isabella earlier, apologized, really apologized. Not for forgiveness, just because it was right. What did she say? That she'd been waiting for it. That it helped close a door she didn't even know was still cracked open. And then she hugged me and said, Welcome to the family, Marcus. I stopped dancing for a second, just held him. There in the middle of the floor while Ben, E. King sang about the sky tumbling down. I'm so proud of you, I whispered. He rested his forehead against mine like he did when he was little. I'm proud of us. Fall 2028. I turned 66 last month. The bookstore celebrated its 35th anniversary with a block party, live jazz on the sidewalk, free books for kids, food trucks lined up from 124th to 127th. The mayor even stopped by and declared it Amelia's Pages Day in Harlem. I laughed so hard I cried. Marcus and Lena got engaged in August. Quiet proposal on his tiny balcony among the tomato plants at sunset. She said yes before he finished the question. They're planning a small wedding next summer, City Hall ceremony, reception in my expanded community reading room. Theodore's already grumbling about wearing a tux again, but secretly thrilled. Isabella and David had a baby girl in June. Named her Zenobia Theodore Estrada Johnson. Zenobia after me. Said she wanted her daughter to grow up knowing what quiet strength looks like. I held that tiny bundle in the hospital and sobbed ugly tears into her. Soft blanket? She's got Isabella's eyes and David's calm. Already sleeps through the night, they say. Miracle child! Theodore turned 90 in September. We threw him a party in the garden again. He danced with his lady friend Evelyn to Louis Armstrong and told everyone he's planning to make 100, just to spite the actuaries. He's slower now, uses a cane, but his mind and his heart are sharp as ever. He pulled me aside that night, same way he did years ago. Will's updated again, he said. Everything to Isabella and little Zenobia, the center, and you. But this time I added something. A fund for Marcus and Lena's kids, college, whatever they need. No strings. Because that boy's earned it. And because family isn't just blood. I hugged him so tight I think I cracked a rib. Victoria got parole eligibility last year, denied. One more chance in 4 years. Theodore says he won't visit again. Some doors stay closed for good. And me? I still open the store every morning at 9. Still brew coffee in both mugs. The chipped one and the blue one Marcus gave me. Still water the hydrangeas that somehow keep blooming bigger every year. I published a book last spring. Small press, nothing fancy. Called it The Taste of My Life, a Harlem story of betrayal, forgiveness, and chosen family. It's not a bestseller, but it's in every branch of the New York Public Library. And women stop me on the street sometimes to say it helped, them leave a bad relationship, or reconcile with a child, or just feel less alone. I sign every copy the same way. To dignity, to second chances, to love that chooses truth even when it hurts. With gratitude, Amelia Johnson. Marcus and I still do our first Sunday breakfasts. Now Lena joins sometimes, and little Zenobia when she's not napping. The table's getting crowded in the best way. Some mornings, Marcus walks me to the store like he did when he was in middle school. We talk about everything. The books I'm reading, the kids he's mentoring, the tomatoes he's trying to grow indoors this winter. One morning last week, as we reached the door and I fished for my keys, he stopped. "Mom?" "Yeah, baby?" I used to think I had to leave Harlem to become somebody. Thought this block, this store, it was all something to escape. He looked up at the sign above the door. Amelia's Pages. Painted fresh last year in deep blue and gold. Now I know the truth. This is where I became somebody. Right here. With you. I unlocked the door, flipped the sign to open, and turned on the lights. "Then let's keep becoming," I said. We stepped inside together. The bell jingled, same as always. And outside, Harlem woke up around us. Kids heading to school. Neighbors calling greetings. The city breathing its beautiful, complicated, resilient life. This is my story, not the one I planned, not the one I thought I deserved, but the one I lived, the one I chose, the one I'm proud of. And it's not over. Because every morning I open that door, every time I brew coffee in those 2 mugs, every time I hold little Zenobia or laugh with Theodore or dance with Marcus or watch Isabella shine, I'm writing the next page. Thank you for reading mine. Wherever you are, whatever chapter you're in, keep turning the page. You're stronger than you know. With all my love and respect, Amelia. City in the comments. Always love knowing. Super thanks if it touched your heart. Until we meet again in another story. With love. Always.